Hello everyone, my name is Alan, and in this video I'm going to be showing off my Y2K corner. This is a video that I've been putting together over this past Memorial Day weekend because my internet went out, and in order to bring some sort of productivity and meaning to my life, this is what I decided to spend my time on in order to curb withdrawal symptoms and avoid a complete and utter losing of my marbles. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. I'm also recently unemployed. All right, so starting off with the computer here, this is a Dell Dimension XPS T800R, and it is part of the Dimension XPS TR family of Dell computers that was popular, I think, around the late 90s and early 2000s. And this one specifically, I think, was manufactured in 2000, and it has for about 6 months, and it has its even rarer sister, the T850R, which was only manufactured for around 3 months during the same year. Did I get that information from a comment on Reddit? Yes. So on the exterior, we have the top two DVD drives. While I don't think they're original to the system, they are definitely as old as it, since they would not open at all when I was first testing this computer out, so I had to go through the arduous process of getting them out of there and cleaning all the gunk off that has collected over the past 26 years. And now they work slightly better. The second one is able to read information a little bit better than the top one, so that's the one I prefer. And then moving down, we have a 3.5-inch floppy drive. I don't really have a floppy drive or a floppy disk to test it out, but I have held a floppy disk before, which is pretty cool. And then moving down, we have the power button, and then the little light that I think shows what the hard drive is doing. And then another button that I don't remember what it does. So now we'll flip it around. Okay, so on the back side of the computer, we're starting with the power supply up here, whose wattage I don't remember. But anyway, interesting fact about it, the cage that holds it in place on the inside broke. So now it very easily slides in and out. You can see here there's a little bit of an indent. So I tend to try and be very careful with it because these power supplies are proprietary to Dell, and they don't manufacture them anymore, obviously. So if this thing breaks, then I can't turn on the computer anymore. So obviously I'm going to be very careful with it. So that's the power supply. And then we have these two PS2 ports, one for the keyboard and one for the mouse, and which we'll get into later. And then a little bit below that, we have these two USB ports, probably USB 1.0. if I had to guess. And then we have two of these serial ports, one for like a fax machine slash printer, and then the other one for a fax machine slash printer. I think this one's for a fax machine and then this one's for a printer. But I could be completely wrong because it's been a year since I've hyperfixated on this. So bear with me. And then right below that, we have these service lights, which light up if anything goes wrong when turning on the computer or just during the operation of the computer, at which point you have to go look into a manual to see what's going wrong and see any possible steps to troubleshoot the issue. Ask me how I know. And finally, we have our graphics card connected by a VGA cable here. And then we have some random network card, which I'm not using because I don't think browsers support Windows 98 at this point. And then finally we have our sound card, which is connected to the speakers here. So I think that about does it for what we can see on the outside of the computer. And now I'll go over some more of the hardware on the inside. First and foremost, it's running this very official copy of Windows 98 2nd edition, which I believe is the more definitive edition of Windows 98 that all the retro computing people seem to use, so that's what I did too. And then I also installed this very official copy of Windows 98 Plus because I liked all the goofy fun themes, and that's pretty much why. And I also appreciate the dual boot capability of Windows 98 in terms of being able to run DOS, since it was one of the last operating systems from Microsoft that ran on top of DOS. The last one being, I think, Windows ME, and I know people don't really like to talk about ME, so I won't do that here either. What else do we got? We have an Intel Pentium 3 clocked at 800 megahertz. As the name would imply, because T800R, 800 megahertz, that was kind of their naming convention there. And then we have 384 megabytes of RAM, which I believe is above the stock amount of RAM, but I think it can go up to like 700 something megabytes, which is pretty good, but 384 megabytes is more than enough for my purposes. And then we have a Sound Blaster Live sound card, which I think is very good for DOS games. So I was pleased to see that in there. And then we move on to the graphics card, which I had oodles of fun trying to upgrade. So originally it came with this Rage Pro Turbo, which was manufactured in like the late 90s, and it has about it has 4 megabytes of RAM, and it wasn't doing it for me. Really the best thing you can do with this is like run some DOS games, but I wanted to run my old childhood games, which I still had, which were 3D accelerated. So I upgraded and decided to get this GeForce 3 Ti200, which has a whopping 64 megabytes of RAM, so very clearly an upgrade. I don't remember which year it's from, but I installed it into the computer, and upon trying to boot it up, it didn't like that, so I don't think I even saw the boot screen, in fact. So after extensive research, making sure that the card is indeed compatible with the system, which I did before buying it and was confident that it would work. I ended up posting on Reddit and Vogons, which is like a hobbyist forum, and in the end it just happened to be that the card was defective, which was good news. So yeah, what I instead ended up doing was ordering another graphics card off of eBay, and this one was even more advanced, and I think it's actually the newest part in this computer. So what I ordered was the GeForce FX 5200, which has a huge amount of RAM, 128 megabytes. So that was way more than enough than what I needed. So now I can just kind of run anything I want from the early 2000s or late 90s pretty comfortably. So that's the story with the graphics card. And now I just have these two kind of sitting around. I think it's pretty interesting to see the size difference between the two. This is the Rage Pro Turbo, and then this is the GeForce Ti200. I think that's like a really interesting part of the early 2000s and late 90s, just to see how quickly things were getting advanced. Just because to go from this to this in like a few years, I think is like pretty impressive. And then the FX 5200 is even bigger. But obviously these don't compare to the most advanced graphics cards of today, which are the size of like a really big brick. Yeah, I think that about does it for the computer. And now we'll move on to the next thing. All right, so up next we have the monitor. And this is also a Dell product. It's a Dell P780, and it was manufactured in December of 2000. It has that beautiful boxy beige clunky look that I really like. So I was really happy to have found it. It was the most expensive part of this collection because I guess CRTs aren't manufactured anymore, obviously. People can just resell them at whatever value to collectors like me. But I was happy to pay for it because it's in fairly good condition. It was also the heaviest item because it's a whopping 41 pounds. So when buying this desk from IKEA, I had to make sure that it could withstand the weight of this monitor and everything else. And luckily it can. Though if you look really closely, it does slightly bend a little bit, but that's okay because I have to put all of this away soon anyway into permanent storage, which is, yeah. So yeah, no big issues with this monitor. The anti-glare coating is the only thing that's kind of deteriorating, I guess, at this point because of its age, I would assume. And you can kind of see across the top there, it's kind of looking spotty a little bit. And especially on the lower right-hand corner, when the monitor is on and when there's like an especially bright image on the screen, you can definitely see there's some color distortion and smudginess, but that really doesn't bother me. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, that's the only, issue, with the monitor, but yeah. So the first peripheral I'll be showing off is the speakers. And these are from Cambridge Soundworks. The model number I think is SBS52, and I believe they were manufactured sometime in 1999 or 2000. And yeah, here they are. Not too much to say about them. They do provide that nice sound. They're pretty thick, pretty hollow. Great for sound making. And yeah, here's the right speaker. You can adjust the volume and the tone, everything you would expect. Here's the back. You just connect it to the power, and then you connect the left speaker to the right speaker. Yeah, there's also a port for your headphones if you choose to use headphones. So that's it for that. I did get a wonderful handwritten note from the people who are selling this on eBay. And it says, "Hello, we are longtime toy/doll collectors who dabble on eBay. We are glad to be able to offer these other items as we downsize on our lives. Amazing what we find around the house tucked away, like these speakers. Thank you for the purchase. Enjoy. Blessings, Candace." Well, Candace, blessings to you and yours. I really resonate with your comment about downsizing, since that's what I'll have to be doing soon here. So let's move on to the next item. So up next we have the mouse, and this is a Microsoft Wheel Mouse Optical, manufactured I think in 2002, and it's a pretty classic laser mouse. It doesn't have that trackball as it was popular before laser mouses. And yeah, has a good grip, good click, and it's connected of course by that PS2 cable. But what's interesting is that it was originally manufactured as a USB cable, but since USBs weren't as prevalent, I guess, back then, it shipped with an adapter for PS2. So I found that pretty cool. Yeah, definitely reminds me of the mouse I had growing up with our family computer. I don't know if it was this exact model, but it was definitely a Microsoft mouse with the whole red sort of underbelly here, and the red laser, of course, that I would enjoy playing around with and staring directly into. So that was really fun. This mouse was also one of two things that I bought brand new. And with that I have its original packaging right here. As you can see, right here is the front and the back. And I kept it because I thought it was kind of cool to keep stuff in there from their original packaging. Yeah, I think some stuff that came with it was, of course, the getting started guide, which just kind of tells you how to hook it up to the computer, and also to put in this disk, which just installs drivers and a program just to control various settings of your mouse more in depth. So that was the mouse, and we'll move on to the keyboard. So last but not least, we have the keyboard, and here it is. This is the Dell Quiet Key SK8000, also manufactured circa 2000. This is probably my favorite peripheral out of everything. It was the other brand new item I was able to get. I just really enjoy the beige gray color scheme, as I do with everything else here. It has those wonderful rubber dome key sounds. Yeah, there's the front and there's the back. Little notch here to tuck the cable in, like that, and then it goes up on either side or the middle. And then it has these stands, which are very loud, but they sound very satisfying. And yeah, that's the keyboard. Now, while it was also brand new, I didn't keep the packaging since it was just a cardboard box. And I think a reason for that was that it was an Intel academic contribution. So it was probably like mass shipped with a whole bunch of other keyboards, so no fancy packaging. And it didn't come with any guide of sorts, other than just using the Windows key and some other key. Yeah, that should be it for the keyboard. And now we can move on to turning it on and taking a quick look at Windows 98. All right, so that was the process of the computer starting up, and here we are on the main desktop of Windows 98. And as you can see, I have the Garfield theme on my desktop right now, which is probably my favorite because it's animated, and it's just super cute, and I think it's just so full of character and super fun. Yeah, what to go over? I guess we can start by looking, of course, at my system. And I'll zoom in here a little bit. I don't remember why it says Windows ME 4.10.2222A, but there's a reason behind it, but rest assured this is not Windows ME, this is Windows 98 SE. Yeah, I guess we can just start going through some interesting programs here. And one thing I really like about the themes in Windows 98 Plus is that it's just so cute. Like, it just squeaks whenever you mouse over the... So we'll just have that in the background. But yeah, here are just some programs, I guess. We got the accessories, communication tools, entertainment tools, internet tools, system tools. We of course have Paint, which no longer exists as of Windows 11, I believe. So there's that. All right, so what else do we got? We got the online services, we got AOL, we got CompuServe, we got AT&T, and then something called Prodigy, which I've never heard of. But no matter really what you do, it does ask for a CD, which I don't have for Windows, or for AOL, I should say. And really, no matter what you do with the internet, it'll just bring you to this MSN sign-on or internet access screen, in case anyone was curious. We got the MS-DOS prompt because, like I said, Windows 98 is one of the last operating systems to be built on top of Windows, or on top of DOS. And yeah, here you can just treat it like DOS pretty much and have your DOS commands. We have Outlook Express, so clearly people were suffering back then with Outlook too. I can't imagine how terrible it was back then, because it's really a nightmare to deal with nowadays. Other than that, we have, of course, the mouse software here that I was talking about when we were going over the mouse. And here, of course, you just kind of have all those fine-grain settings and options and whatnot. So there's that. We have the mouse healthy computing guide. I don't know if this came with Windows 98 or not, but it kind of just goes over how to compute in a healthy manner. Basically all the rules that none of us follow. They were warning us even back then. And then these are just some diagnostic tools I installed just to make sure everything was working correctly, I guess. Creative programs for the sound card. Windows 98 Plus, which I think we'll conclude with here, just some programs. And aside from that, just some games that I installed. I have my old Harry Potter games, my old Mafia game, and then Half-Life, of course. I'm not going to go over the games because this video is probably already long enough, and I can't imagine listening to my voice. We have Windows 98 Plus stuff here. We have some games that it came with. The iconic Spider Solitaire is on here as well. We've got some various other stuff here, but the most important thing here, I think, is the desktop themes. And here's where kind of you can just choose various desktop themes. So the one I'm on right now is the Garfield theme, and it just comes with a whole bunch. Like we have the architecture theme, we got the Kathy theme, who I don't know who Kathy actually is. Same with Doonesbury, same with Foxtrot. I don't know who these people are. I don't know how we have the cityscape theme, which I think is super interesting. Like it's just so Y2K, I think. And then we have, I don't know, we got geometry, we got the horror channel, everything is horror themed. We got jazz, if you like jazz. We got Peanuts too, super cute. Photo disc, rock and roll, world traveler. I mean, yeah, it's just got a lot. And I mean, I think all of these have a lot of charm and character because they just customize pretty much every visual and auditory aspect of Windows 98. And I think that just brings so much character and so much whimsy and fun in using your computer. And I think that's just really missing nowadays from modern software and modern operating systems. Like if we were to compare this to Windows 11, for example, we don't got none of this anymore, as far as I can tell. So I just really appreciated this this aspect of Windows 98 instead of having AI features and Copilot forcibly shoved down my throat no matter where I look. Before we end it, however, I also do want to show the screensavers. And they have one for almost all the themes, but not, I think Garfield is the only one with sound. Yeah, there's one for Peanuts. Yeah, Garfield's probably my favorite. Again, we got Doonesbury. I don't know who this guy is. I don't understand. There's like a walking cigarette. There's just a lot to unpack here. I'm probably gonna look this up after this video, honestly, because what is going on here? And then we have the Kathy theme. I don't know, again, who Kathy is. This looks a little bit more PG than Doonesbury, I think. And then we have Foxtrot, again, more PG than Doonesbury. There's a crocodile or alligator strapped to a rocket, and it's making a cross. Very holy. Then of course we have some stock Windows 98 ones, like this one, the Flying Windows, or I think this one's 3D Flying Object, but this one's kind of cool. And then of course we have the 3D Maze, which is super iconic. Yeah, we got this almost a Wolfenstein 3D-esque maze where the camera spins nauseatingly around as it tries to find its way out of this maze. And it's just very enthralling and a little bit, makes me a little bit queasy looking at it a bit too long. So yeah. So that's going to conclude my video on my Y2K corner. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Oh, wow. So that's going to conclude this video on my Y2K corner. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I will enjoy it because I'm not able to edit all the footage together until I get my internet back, which is hopefully going to be tomorrow morning. And I want to apologize for my painfully monotonous voice, which I've noticed going back throughout all the footage. It's definitely not as easy as it seems to talk coherently in front of a camera, and being a perfectionist, it's hard to not just press the stop button and start recording again until I'm happy with it, as I have done with this very outro. So I'm going to make sure this is my final attempt and just, be happy with what I've got. I think it's important to step outside of one's comfort zone every now and then, even though this has felt like a mini humiliation ritual. I'm just trying to keep my mood up as I'm going through a big period of change in my life. Like I've said, I've been unemployed, laid off, and I'm gonna have to move out of this apartment soon, and the cherry on top is that I haven't had internet this whole weekend. So like I said, I'm doing this to prevent myself from going completely and utterly manic. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video like I said, and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.